As humans, we seek communities to which we can belong, especially in times when we feel alone because of who we are or what we are passionate about. In these times, with so much polarization, it can be hard to find a place to belong, especially if one lives in an environment hostile to one's values or to one's identities. But you are not alone. It can be difficult to express one's progressive religious values against a tide of opposing values. It helps to be with others who are concerned about these issues too. Our Unitarian Universalist congregations can be islands of solidarity in the sea of fear, distrust, and polarization. Here we gather to share progressive values framed by the inherent worth and dignity of all people and our awareness of our place in the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. Our faith homes are places to explore ways to undo white supremacy culture, which places white males at the pinnacle of society, transphobia and homophobia, which threatens people's ability to be who they are and love who they love, religious persecution, sexism, ableism, and so many of the ways that we categorize and separate people. We are committed to caring for one another, the communities in which we live, and our global community. Our congregations are often engaged in social justice ministries in the local area, and we understand that spirituality must be lived in the world, not just talked about on Sunday mornings. We strive to expand the circle of our community ever more and provide sanctuary against the prevailing winds of fear and anger, violence and hatred, which do the most harm to those whom society deems other or lesser. We work together to provide a caring environment for adults, children, and youth. We gather in religious community for replenishment, to celebrate and sing, meditate and pray, laugh and learn together. In Unitarian Universalist communities, we are anchored by mutual promises that call us all into care for one another, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. The search for safety is a natural human drive, but congregations are not places to hide from the world and the work that we are called to do to make it better. They are not immune to the ways privilege and oppression are internalized and manifested. Nor are they places to avoid accountability for the ways we all participate in oppressive systems. But they are full of people who are called by our principles to be intentional about offering understanding and support to each other. Unitarian Universalism is a faith centered on nurturing the most compassionate and loving versions of ourselves. Our covenants ask us to place relationships first, no matter how we differ in belief, background, life experience, or identity. And our faith is shaped by our commitment to our covenants. We seek to create brave space where people can come to understand that we are all loved and lovable, valued and valuable. Unitarian Universalist congregations create the opportunity for spiritual exploration, deeper self-understanding, and self-acceptance. Audre Lorde wrote, "At last you'll know with surpassing certainty that only one thing is more frightening than speaking your truth, and that is not speaking." Our Unitarian Universalist congregations welcome you, whoever you are, as you are, and hope to inspire and encourage you to live a life of integrity, service, and love.
In the 2004 Pixar animated movie The Incredibles, one of my favorite scenes is in the very beginning of the movie where Mr. Incredible, who is a superhero who has been relocated and given a cover job and his identity is a secret, he's working for an insurance agency. And the scene of this insurance agency is one of a very sad, soul-sucking working environment where there's lots of cubicles, it's very gray, it's not very colorful at all. And the opening scene is Mr. Incredible talking with a woman who is in his office who is upset that her insurance claim has just been denied. And she's saying, I'm on a fixed income, I'm elderly, I don't know what I'm gonna do. If you can't help me, I don't know who can. And she's so upset. And she says, what can you do for me? And Mr. Incredible looks around to make sure his boss isn't watching, and he says, all right, listen closely. And he hands her a pencil and a piece of paper, and he says, I'd like to help you, but I can't. I'd like to tell you to take a copy of your policy to Norma Wilcox, that's Wilcox, on the 3rd floor, but I can't. I do not advise you to fill out and file WS-2475 form with our legal department on the 2nd floor, and I wouldn't expect someone to get back to you quickly to resolve the matter. I'd like to help you, but there's nothing I can do. And the lady is brightening up. She says, oh, thank you, young man. And he interrupts her. I'm sorry, ma'am. There's nothing I can do. I know you're upset. Pretend to be upset. And the lady storms off, upset, sobbing, and on her way, presumably, to Norma Wilcox's office. So in that spirit, this morning, I'd like to welcome you, but I can't. I'd like to tell you we are Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, that's TVUUC, but I can't. I also do not advise you to say hello to others in the comments section wherever you're watching. I also wouldn't expect others to be glad you're here with us this morning. I'd like to welcome you, but I can't. And now, let us worship together.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving houses, no carol and of despair. Come yet again, come. Vende tu eres ben, no bargain
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant.
The story I have to share with you today is adapted from one by D. Ramito called Pies from Nowhere. It is a true story about someone named Georgia Gilmore, who was born in 1920. Now, when Georgia was a young girl, she lived on a farm in Alabama where she fed the pigs and milked the cows. And Georgia did her best to listen to what her parents told her. Her mother said to her, think twice before doing anything you regret, and never ever hate anyone. I wonder what is some of the really good advice that you remember getting from somebody when you were little. Now, Georgia grew up and soon had a family of her own, and she did plenty of cooking along the way. And she became a cook at the National Lunch Company in downtown Montgomery, Alabama. Now, in those days, because of segregation laws, the restaurant counter was separated into 2 sections. One side for white customers, one side for black customers. And Georgia knew that it was wrong, but that was the way things were. But then, on December 1st, 1955, Georgia was working at the restaurant when a news alert came on over the radio. An African-American woman named Rosa Parks, who some of us might be familiar with, what did she do? She had been arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a bus to a white customer. Rosa was tired of giving in to rules that were unjust and unfair, and she was not the only one. The next day, a flyer was passed around the Black community in Montgomery asking people to boycott public transportation on Monday, to refuse to use the buses. And Georgia watched as buses drove down the street, one after another, empty. Now, because she had been treated poorly by the drivers many times before, Georgia already hadn't ridden the buses in 2 months. Still, she wanted to be part of the movement she saw growing. Wonder if you have ever seen people working together on something that you thought was an important change that needed to happen, that you wanted to be part of. So not long after that, Georgia went to Holt Street Baptist Church to hear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speak. He spoke about doing good things for one another. He talked about freedom and unity and equality. And those were things that Georgia believed in, and she was willing to fight for them. So Georgia decided to help the best way that she knew how. What do you think that might have been? Now, as the bus boycotters walked and walked, Georgia cooked and cooked. And my goodness, did the people of Montgomery love her food. She worked with a group of women to cook for church meetings and make sandwiches and dinners, all which they sold to people in their neighborhoods. They sold at local stores and beauty salons and groceries and laundromats. And then they donated all the money that they made to the Montgomery Improvement Association, which was helping to fund the boycott to make it possible for it to continue. But if anyone had figured out that those women were involved, they might lose their jobs. So Georgia ran the whole thing, and the other women acted as secret helpers. And people paid in cash when they bought food so that they wouldn't be connected to helping out with the boycott either. Sweet potato pie, peach pie, red velvet cake, 7-Up cake, all kinds of good things, and only Georgia knew who baked them. And only Georgia knew who bought them. And whenever people asked where the money came from, she remembered her promise to keep it a secret, and so she'd say, "It came from nowhere." And because of this, her brave group of women bakers became known as the Club from Nowhere. And the club not only raised enough money to buy gas for the carpool system that had been set up for the boycott, but they also were able to buy station wagons to help get people where they needed to go when they were not using the buses. But there were people in Montgomery leadership who didn't want the buses to continue to lose money. So the city did what it could to stop the protesters and their efforts. And Dr. King and 89 other people were arrested for their roles in the boycott. And Georgia? Well, she went to speak in court about how she had been mistreated on the buses in the past. She told a story about one time in particular when she had already paid, right? She got on the bus, she paid the driver, and the driver demanded that she get off of the bus and go around and get back on at the back of the bus instead. But then, as she testified in court, she said, "When I reached the back door and was about to get on, he shut the back door and pulled off, and I didn't even get to ride the bus after paying my fare." Now, Georgia knew that she was doing the right thing by speaking up, but news of the trial spread, and when the National Lunch Company found out that she was part of the boycott, she was fired from her job. And now, Georgia was unemployed and raising 6 children of her own. She needed to find a new way to support her family. And I wonder if any of you can guess what that way might have been. Dr. King actually encouraged her to start her own business, and he helped her improve the kitchen in her home, and Georgia got new pots and pans and cooking supplies. and word soon got around and people came to eat at George's. And in fact, when they came to her house for a meal, they would eat wherever they could find a seat, or if they couldn't find a seat, they'd eat standing up because so many people wanted to eat there. And before long, Georgia was making hundreds of lunches every day. She was providing good food for her community, but she was also bringing the people of Montgomery together, black and white, who all came to eat at George's. And Dr. King often had meals at George's house. And she was a big woman with a big personality, and he lovingly called her Tiny. And because civil rights leaders knew that they could trust Georgia, her home became a place for important and often secret meetings. Then, on November 13th, 1956, Georgia was cooking in her kitchen, listening to music on the radio when the station interrupted the song to deliver the news. The Supreme Court had declared that segregation on the buses was illegal. The boycotters had won. People could ride the bus and sit anywhere they wanted to, and Georgia was thrilled. Can you imagine how it felt in that moment? Still, there would be more battles to fight, so Georgia Gilmore kept right on cooking.
The reading that I have for you today is not so much a reading as it is a recap of a TikTok video. And it's a TikTok video that I don't think I can show because of copyright and all that good stuff, and I don't know how it works with our streaming service. But this video comes from the user Making the Future Bright. And this user is a kindergarten teacher who was talking this week about reading the book Justice Is by Preet Bharara in her class. And in the book, on one of the pages, is a picture of some scales. And one of the kids raised their hand and said, "What is that?" And the teacher talked about what balancing scales are and how they're the symbol for justice, that things should be balanced for everybody. They shouldn't lean too much to one side or the other, that everything should be fair. And so the teacher tried to come up with some examples, and one of the examples she used was, she said, imagine if I had a whole bunch of stickers, and I brought a whole bunch of stickers into class, and instead of giving them out one to each person or a few to each person, I gave them all to one person. And the kids were very upset. They were very angry. They said, "No, that wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be right." And they talked more about what justice meant and what would be fair and how that would work. But after a few minutes, the kid that she had offered to give all of the stickers to raised their hand and said, "Well, that wouldn't be fair to me either, because then I would have all the stickers and my friends would be upset with me." And the teacher said, "Yeah, that's exactly right." And in the video, she says, "I wish more adults could understand things in the way that children do." that even children can understand that even when you're the one who's winning, it's not winning if it's not fair for everyone.
I'd like to pray, invoking the word kindness. Many people know how to be nice, and many people are nice, but many people are not kind. And kindness is distinct from being nice. In a sympathetic concern, in gestures of helping, in standing up for the weak, in voicing affirmation in words of understanding, in visits of solicitude, in non-judgmental thoughts, to embraces of hospitality. Your touch is in us and is human kindness, and to hold us all in each other's hearts is to know that today I will be kind. In prayer, always ask to be kind. In prayer and meditation, always ask to understand the feelings of another. And in prayer and meditation and silence, know that I see God within you. Go in peace. Enjoy your days and practice kindness.
If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or song, if I can show If I can do shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be in vain. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today at TVUUC. My name is Claudia Presley, and I'm the Director of Finance and Administration here. Today is a designated offering Sunday. What that means is that 100% of your contribution that is not marked as a pledge will go to our designated organization for today. That organization is the Trans Empowerment Project, TEP. You'll be seeing a short video here in a few minutes that explains what they do and how they do that. But let me tell you the ways that you can give. You can go to our website and type in tvuuc.org/give, or you can text give to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount that you would like to give. You can also log into your Realm account and give that way, or you can mail a check to our church office. So once again, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.
There is growing concern in this country and fear about deadly attacks against transgender Americans.
Michelle Tamika Washington, 40 years old and a longtime advocate for the LGBTQ community, was shot several times. Malaysia Booker was found dead in Dallas. 2 more black transgender women, Ashanti Carmen and Dana Martin, were also killed.
He started choking me, punched me like 3 or 4 times in my face. And then the first thing I did was run out the door.
During the pandemic, I've been tested for COVID numerous times. And each time, without fail, the person administering the test has said, "We will call you with your results as soon as they come in." And then, with a pause, they say, "We will call you either way, no matter what the results are." Now, normally I wouldn't think anything of a statement like that. But this past week, as I had administration and bureaucracy on my mind, I realized that this is someone stating a policy, that this doctor's office calls you no matter what the results are. This got me thinking about some of my friends, and many of my queer friends in particular, who have gone in for similar tests, but for illnesses and infections that carry with them a whole lot of stigma. I think of two friends in particular about 12 years ago, both of whom were getting tested for the same thing at the same place a few days apart. Both were told they would have to come back into the office no matter what the results were. One friend received a phone call telling him there was no need to come in, that his test had come back negative. The other friend was told his office would not give the results over the phone and that he would have to come in. He became very scared and upset because he knew this meant he was probably sick. And it turns out that he wasn't, and that when the one friend was told he'd have to come in, the person scheduling the appointments that day didn't see the harm in letting my friend know the results over the phone. Now, the point of this story is not what the status of my friend's illness was. The point was how they were treated differently in a system that supposedly had policies in place to treat everyone equally. Sometimes systems are made up of people serving people, and when that humanity is forgotten, people can be hurt. And it's not just the people that the system serves, it's also the people serving within the system. Since the pandemic started, I have picked up a habit I swore I never would. I joined TikTok, the social media platform made up of short videos where you swipe through and watch 1 to 3 minute videos, and it's been pretty fun. And one of the trends that comes across my For You page is a trend called Purge Day. Now, Purge Day is where folks who work in various service fields post videos of themselves in imaginary conversations with customers, clients, and the general public. The video usually starts with the person saying something like, "Welcome to the place where I work. Just so you know, it's Purge Day, so we're allowed to match your energy and respond to you however we feel is appropriate." For example, a server in a restaurant might play an imaginary conversation where they talk back to a customer who's being rude or mistreating them. They might have a sarcastic comeback or remark on the person's rudeness, or they might ignore the person altogether. It's imaginary, and it's all in good fun, and it's all in satire. But like all satire, it's rooted in some truth. And the truth is that very often the people who work in the service industry behind the scenes, or who work in administration behind the scenes, get treated in ways that seem at best to forget their humanity, and at worst in ways that mock their humanity. This got me thinking about companies, organizations, institutions, and the people who keep them running, who often work behind the scenes or on the sidelines. It got me thinking about the people who administer the day-to-day duties of an organization. I work in higher education, my husband works in healthcare, my brother works in the retail industry, and I suspect that each of us who've gathered here today to watch this service, if we really think about it, there are ways that each of us serve, even if it's not our main job. There's some place that we engage in the behind-the-scenes work of an organization, whether that's for our career or where we volunteer. And we certainly feel at times, it can certainly feel at times, like our work is not appreciated or recognized or seen. And sometimes we ourselves may not even see the importance of the work that we do. But like Mr. Incredible working in the insurance company, we may be a person's saving grace. We may be what they need right in that moment, even if we find ourselves in overwhelming systems that we feel will never change. And we might be able to find ways to help people navigating those same systems that would otherwise forget their humanity. We might follow examples Prophetic examples like Georgia Gilmore, who served a movement by doing what she knew. And even when the battle was over, she knew that there would be more battles to fight, so she kept right on cooking. We can find ways to educate people we serve, showing them that just like in the sticker example from the TikTok story earlier, even if you are the one who is winning, it's not winning if it's not fair for everyone. And while we're on the lookout for humanity in the places that we serve, we can't forget to give ourselves a little grace, remembering our own humanity. If you're like me, you might be tired, you might be burnt out. The world has been exhausting these last 2 years. But if we can think of our work less as administration duties and more as administry, it might allow us to explore the pastoral and the ministerial aspects of the work that we do, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. It might help us realize the call that all our service is worship and all our presence is an open door. And when we think about serving the larger movement, if we can find the humanity in the moment, it might help us serve humanity in the movement. Seeking justice, showing kindness, singing praises in all we do. Church is more than just a building. It's our work towards a world made new. Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free. As our last act of worship, I invite you to call, text, email, or video chat your neighbors. And if you'd like to join us for the virtual coffee hour right after the service, there'll be a link in the comments. And wherever you go this week, be sure and share your stickers. Blessings to you all. Go in peace.